Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. Have you ever wondered what happens when we don't wait for God's timing? Throughout the Bible, there are numerous instances where impatience led to dire consequences. From patriarchs to kings, even the most faithful followers faltered in patience and took matters into their own hands. These examples of not waiting on God in the Bible serve as cautionary tales that challenge our beliefs and make us reflect on our own actions. First, we have Abraham and Sarah. Impatient for God's promise of a child, they decided Abraham should have a child with Hagar, Sarah's servant. This decision led to family conflicts and division. The birth of Ishmael, Hagar's son, created tension and jealousy within the household. Sarah eventually demanded that Hagar and Ishmael be sent away, leading to further heartache and separation. As we reflect on the story of Abraham and Hagar, let us remember that waiting on God and trusting in his promises is not always easy. It requires faith and patience, even in the face of uncertainty. By surrendering our desires to God and waiting for his perfect timing, we can avoid the turmoil and heartache that often come from hastily seeking our own solutions. Next, we have Moses. Instead of speaking to the rock as God instructed, he struck it in frustration. As a result, he was forbidden from entering the Promised Land. This act of impatience not only cost Moses his dream, but also served as a powerful lesson to the Israelites about the importance of obedience and trust in God's timing. And the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "Because you did not believe in me, to uphold me as holy in the eyes of the people of Israel, therefore you shall not bring this assembly into the land that I have given them." King Saul, in his impatience and fear, performed a sacrifice that should have waited for Samuel. This act led to God's rejection of Saul as king. Saul's impatience revealed his lack of faith and ultimately set the stage for David's rise to the throne. Saul's reign was marked by turmoil and his eventual downfall. It is a tale reminding us of the importance of patience and obedience in our own lives. Just like Saul, we may be tempted to rush ahead, thinking we know what's best, but in doing so, we risk missing out on God's perfect plan for us. The Israelites, impatient with Moses' delay on Mount Sinai, created a golden calf to worship. This act provoked God's anger. The golden calf incident was a stark reminder of the dangers of idolatry and the need for steadfast faith. God was angered by their disobedience and threatened to destroy them. It took Moses' intervention and pleading on their behalf to appease God's wrath. And Moses implored the Lord his God and said, "O Lord, why does your wrath burn hot against your people, whom you have brought out of the land of Egypt with great power and with a mighty hand?" Exodus 32, verse 11. Esau, driven by hunger and impatience, sold his birthright to Jacob for a bowl of stew, showing a lack of long-term vision. This impulsive decision had lasting repercussions, as Esau forfeited his inheritance and blessing. The story of Esau and Jacob highlights the importance of valuing one's future and making thoughtful decisions. This biblical account serves as a cautionary tale, reminding us of the importance of patience and wise decision-making. It highlights the potential consequences that can arise from prioritizing immediate desires and neglecting the long-term implications of our actions. Joshua and the leaders of Israel, without consulting God, made a peace treaty with the Gibeonites, who had disguised themselves as distant travelers. This act of impatience and lack of discernment led to an alliance that caused complications for Israel. So the men took some of their provisions, but did not inquire of the Lord. Then Joshua made a treaty of peace with them to let them live, and the leaders of the assembly ratified it by oath. Joshua 9 verses 14 to 15. By emphasizing the need for seeking God's guidance, the story of Joshua and the Gibeonite deception serves as a valuable lesson for believers today. It reminds us of the importance of patience, discernment, and reliance on God's wisdom. King David, succumbing to immediate desire, committed adultery with Bathsheba, leading to severe consequences for his family and reign. David's impatience and lack of self-control resulted in a series of tragic events, including the death of Bathsheba's husband, Uriah, and turmoil within David's household. David's story also highlights the enduring consequences that can arise from acting on impulsive desires. The death of David and Bathsheba's first child, the rebellion and tragedy within David's family, and the loss of God's favor all stemmed from this one moment of giving in to temptation. It serves as a cautionary tale, reminding us of the importance of patience and seeking God's will in our lives. The Lord also has put away your sin. You shall not die. Nevertheless, because by this deed you have utterly scorned the Lord, the child who is born to you shall die. 2 Samuel 12 verses 13 to 14. Jonah, trying to escape God's mission to preach in Nineveh, faced a storm and was swallowed by a great fish, learning the importance of patience and obedience. Jonah's reluctance and impatience led to a dramatic turn of events, ultimately teaching him about God's mercy and the importance of fulfilling one's divine calling. But Jonah rose to flee to Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. He went down to Joppa and found a ship going to Tarshish. So he paid the fare and went down into it, to go with them to Tarshish, away from the presence of the Lord. Jonah 1 verse 3. Reflecting on Jonah's story reminds us of the importance of obedience, patience, and trust in our journey of faith. It encourages us to embrace God's will, even when it challenges us or requires us to wait for His timing. By doing so, we can experience His abundant mercy, forgiveness, and the fulfillment of His purpose in our lives. Rebekah and Jacob, impatient with God's plan, deceived Isaac to ensure Jacob received the blessing meant for Esau, causing family strife. This act of deception led to years of conflict and separation within the family. Let us learn from Jacob's example and seek to cultivate patience, trusting in God's plan for our lives. By aligning our will with His, we can avoid the pitfalls of impatience and experience the abundant blessings that come from waiting on God. Ananias and Sapphira, driven by their desire for immediate recognition, made a grave mistake by lying to the Holy Spirit. In an attempt to receive praise and honor, they deceitfully misrepresented the amount they received from the sale of a piece of land. God, who knows the hearts of all, saw through their deception and confronted them through the Apostle Peter. The seriousness of their sin was further emphasized when both Ananias and Sapphira fell dead after being confronted about their lie. The story of Ananias and Sapphira serves as a cautionary tale for believers throughout history. It reminds us of the dangers of putting our own desires for recognition and approval above the truth, and the importance of being honest and transparent in our interactions. God values authenticity and sincerity, and He expects us to demonstrate the same in all aspects of our lives. As we reflect on these stories, it's important to consider the consequences of our impatience and lack of trust in God's timing. Instead of forcing our own way, we should patiently wait for God's perfect plan to unfold, trusting that His timing is always best. Let us learn from these examples and seek to cultivate patience, trusting in God's plan for our lives. By aligning our will with His, we can avoid the pitfalls of impatience and experience the abundant blessings that come from waiting on God.